Cori Broadus had always felt a deep sense of pride in being the daughter of Snoop Dogg. Growing up in the vibrant neighborhoods of Los Angeles, her life was a colorful blend of music, family, and fame. She was no stranger to the spotlight, but beyond the cameras, beyond the glossy magazine covers, Cori was someone who valued authenticity. Her father, despite his global fame, had always been a figure of guidance, humor, and unshakable support in her life, but nothing could have prepared her for the morning of her 25th birthday. The sun cast soft golden rays through the large bay windows of her apartment. Balloons and birthday cards decorated the living room from the small gathering the night before. As she sipped her coffee, there was a knock at the door, soft, hesitant, almost unsure. Expecting it to be a delivery or a friend arriving early, Cori casually opened it. But instead of a person, there was a small, aged envelope on her welcome mat. No name, no return address. Only her first name handwritten on the front in delicate, slanted cursive. Curiosity prickled through her skin. She picked it up, feeling the rough texture of the old paper. The edges were slightly frayed and the seal looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Sitting on the couch, she carefully broke it open. Inside was a folded piece of paper, yellowed by time. As she unfolded it, her eyes widened in disbelief. The handwriting was unmistakable. She had seen it on countless birthday cards, backstage notes, and scribbled lyrics, her father's handwriting. But what truly shook her was the date scrawled in the corner. May 1998, months before she was even born. Her fingers trembled as she began to read. "To my future daughter, if you are reading this, there's something I need you to know. I've carried this truth in my heart for as long as I can remember. One day you will have questions, and you deserve to know the real story." Cori's breath hitched. Her heart pounded so loud, it drowned out the ambient sounds of the city outside. What could her father possibly have written to her before she was even born? What kind of truth had been hidden all these years? She read further, but the letter stopped abruptly at a torn edge, as if the rest of it had been ripped away. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Was it a prank? Some strange fan mail? No. The handwriting was real. The way the words curved, the little imperfections. This was her father's hand. Her gut knew it. And the overwhelming wave of unease that followed confirmed it. Cori stood up, pacing. Her hands trembled, her chest tightened. "No way, no way," she whispered repeatedly, trying to steady her breath. She fumbled for her phone, instinctively pulling up her father's contact, but her thumb hovered over the call button. What was she even supposed to say? "Hey, Dad, did you write me a mysterious letter decades ago?" Her mind flashed back to all the times her father spoke about family, about being real, about never hiding from the truth. And yet, here it was. A truth deliberately tucked away, waiting for her to find. Before anything else, she snapped out of her spiral. She needed answers, and there was only one place to start. But before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more powerful stories like this one. Taking a deep breath, Cori grabbed her keys. If there was anyone who could shed light on this first, it was her mother, Shantae. Cori stepped out, determination firing through every step. Today she would uncover the truth that had been hidden from her since the day she was born. The drive to her mother's house felt longer than usual. Los Angeles traffic seemed heavier, the noises sharper, every red light dragging out her anxiety. Cori gripped the steering wheel tightly, her mind spinning with every possible scenario. What could be so important, so life-altering, that her father had written a letter to her before her birth, but never shared it until now? As she pulled into the familiar driveway, a wave of memories hit her. The childhood birthday parties, family cookouts, late-night talks on the porch. This house had always been her safe place. But today it felt different, heavy. Loaded with answers, she wasn't sure she was ready to hear. Cori barely rang the doorbell before the door swung open. Her mother, Shantae, stood there with a warm but cautious smile. "Baby, what are you doing here so early?" Cori didn't respond right away. Instead, she pulled the worn letter from her jacket and held it out with trembling hands. "Mom, What is this? Shantae's eyes flicked down to the paper, and instantly her expression shifted. The color drained from her face, her lips parted, but no words came out. For a long moment, there was only silence. Thick, suffocating silence. "Come inside," Shantae finally whispered, stepping aside. They sat in the living room, the same place Cori had opened Christmas presents and laughed over family dinners. But today, the air was tight with tension. "Where did you get this?" her mother asked quietly, almost as if dreading the answer. "It was left at my door, no name, just there." Cori's voice cracked. "Why do I have a letter from Dad?" "Dated before I was born." Shantae closed her eyes, pressing her hands together as if in prayer. Her shoulders trembled. "I always knew this day might come," she whispered. I prayed it wouldn't." Cori's stomach flipped. "Mum, what aren't you telling me?" Tears welled in Shantae's eyes. She reached for Cori's hands, squeezing them tight. "Before you were born, your father and I, we went through something painful, something complicated." "What do you mean?" Cori's voice was barely a whisper. Shantae took a shaky breath. "There was someone very close to your father. Someone who, before we reconciled, had a connection to him that changed everything." Cori's eyes widened. "Are you saying I have a sibling?" "Someone I don't know about." Shantae shook her head quickly. No, not exactly, but it's connected. Cori, there was a woman your father loved deeply before we found our way back to each other. And something happened, something that involved you, even before you were born." Tears pricked Cori's eyes. "I don't understand, Mom. You have to tell me." "I can't," Shantae whispered, choking back a sob. "I can't tell you the full story. It's not my story to tell. It has to come from him." At that moment, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Cord and Cordell, Cori's brothers, had been listening. Their faces were masks of confusion and disbelief. "Wait, what?" Cordell asked, stepping forward. "What's going on?" "What are y'all talking about?" "I don't even know, bro," Cori muttered, shaking her head. "But whatever it is, it's big, and Dad's been hiding it." Cord crossed his arms, eyes narrowing. "Dad never said anything like this. Not ever." Shantae wiped her tears. "None of us knew how to face it. We thought if we never talked about it, it would never surface." "Well, it surfaced," Cori snapped, her voice sharper than she intended. "And I'm not running from it." Her hands balled into fists. Her heart raced. The confusion twisted with hurt and anger, forming a storm inside her chest. Whatever this secret was, it had been hidden from her for her entire life. And now, there was no turning back. She stood abruptly. "I'm going to Dad right now." The drive to her father's studio felt like walking toward the edge of a cliff. Cori's fingers gripped the steering wheel so tightly, her knuckles whitened. She could barely hear the hum of her car over the pounding of her own heart. Questions spun in her head faster and faster. What could be so big, so painful, that both her parents buried it for her entire life? As she pulled up to the gates of Snoop Dogg's private studio in Inglewood, the familiar security guard gave her a nod and opened the gate without question. She wasn't just Snoop's daughter. She was family. She belonged here. At least, she always thought she did. She stepped out of the car, letter clutched in her trembling hand, and marched toward the building. Every step felt heavier than the last. Inside, the smell of burning incense mixed with fresh vinyl records. The muffled thump of bass echoed from behind a closed door. But before she could knock, it opened, and there stood her father. Snoop's signature laid-back energy melted the second he saw her face. "Cori, what's wrong?" His brow furrowed immediately. She didn't speak. She simply held out the letter. Snoop's eyes dropped to the paper. The moment he recognized it, something in him broke. His shoulders collapsed. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Cori's voice trembled but stayed steady. "Dad, I need the truth. All of it." For the first time in her life, Cori saw her father, scared. He stepped aside. "Come in, baby girl." They sat in the corner of the studio, away from the soundboards, the lights, the beats. Just father and daughter. Silence stretched between them, until finally Snoop exhaled a deep, shuddering breath. "I always knew this day would come," he muttered, rubbing his hands together. His famous swagger, the smooth talk, the unbreakable cool, all of it was gone. Cori folded her arms, jaw clenched. "Then let's stop pretending. Tell me." Snoop looked down at his hands, then back up into his daughter's eyes. His voice was raw, almost breaking. "Before you were born, before me and your mama worked it out, there was someone else. Someone I was real close to." Cori's throat tightened. "A woman?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, her name was Denise. We were together for a while. Not long, but long enough. She got pregnant." Cori's heart stopped. "What?" Snoop held up his hand. "Listen to me. Denise, she lost the baby. A miscarriage. It broke both of us. I wasn't there the way I should have been. I was young, chasing fame. Running wild." His voice cracked as he continued. "When it happened, I wrote that letter. I wrote it to the baby I thought I'd never have. I poured everything into it. All the love, the guilt, the hope. I couldn't let it go. But then me and your mama, we found our way back. And not long after, we found out she was pregnant with you." Tears spilled from Cori's eyes. "So you're saying you wrote this letter to me, but not me, someone else who never made it?" Snoop nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. "Yeah. But when you were born, it felt like God gave me a second chance. You were my blessing, my light. But that letter, I couldn't throw it away. Part of me always felt like you needed to know that before you there was a loss so big." It changed me. His hands trembled. "I didn't know when or how to tell you, so I hid it, I buried it. But I never stopped loving you, not for 1 second." Cori stared at him, her heart torn open. "You should have told me, Dad. All these years." "I know," Snoop whispered. "I know, baby girl." "I'm sorry." In that moment, everything broke. Anger, sadness, love, all tangled together as father and daughter collapsed into each other's arms, sobbing. The truth had been set free, but whether it would heal or harm was still unknown. For a long time, neither of them spoke. They just sat there, arms wrapped tight, letting years of buried emotions flow out through tears neither had ever expected to cry together. When they finally pulled apart, their faces were stained, but something in the air had shifted, lighter, less suffocating. Cori wiped her face, her voice small but steady. "I don't even know how to feel, Dad. It's like I lost someone I never knew, and yet I'm here. I exist because you and Mom found your way back." Snoop nodded, his eyes heavy with regret. "I know, baby girl. I failed you in keeping this from you. I thought maybe if I didn't speak it out loud, it wouldn't hurt anymore. But pain don't work like that." She leaned back, staring at the ceiling, processing everything. "I spent my whole life thinking I knew our story, who we are, and now it feels like there's this shadow I never saw." Her father's voice softened. "But it ain't a shadow on you, Cori. You were my redemption, my second chance. You saved me." Cori let those words sink in, her chest tightening with a bittersweet ache. I need to make sense of it. I need to honor whoever they were, the one who didn't make it, the one you wrote to." Snoop nodded slowly. "That's real, and you ain't got to do it alone." Over the next few days, the entire family gathered, Shante, Cordell, even extended relatives. What started as confusion and hurt slowly transformed into open, honest conversations. Tears were shed, laughter cracked through the pain, and bonds were mended stronger than ever. For the first time, Snoop sat his kids down and talked about things he'd never shared. The early days of fame, the loneliness behind the flashing lights, the mistakes, the regrets, and the lessons that followed. "This ain't about being perfect," he told them. "It's about owning who you are. The good, the bad, and all of it." Cori, meanwhile, began to write. Journals filled with thoughts, feelings, memories. hers and the imagined life of the sibling she never knew. It became her way to process, to heal. But it didn't stop there. Motivated by the experience, Cori decided to create something bigger, a foundation. A safe space for young people dealing with identity struggles, family secrets, grief, and the complicated realities of growing up in broken or blended families. "I want them to know," she told her parents and brothers, "that secrets don't have to break us. They can teach us, heal us." Word about the story began to spread, not by tabloids but organically. Cori, in her own words, shared her experience online, speaking candidly about her journey. The internet exploded with love, empathy, and encouragement. Messages poured in from people who had faced similar family secrets, from those who carried hidden grief, from those searching for healing. Her strength became an inspiration, her vulnerability, a beacon for others walking the same uncertain paths. Then one afternoon, an unexpected message arrived in her inbox, a simple note. "There's something you should know. I was close to Denise. I think we should talk." Cori's hands shook as she read it. Another thread to the past, another piece of the puzzle. She showed it to her father, whose face went pale for a moment before softening. "You ready for that?" he asked gently. Cori nodded. "I think I have to be." The pain hadn't disappeared. The questions hadn't all been answered. But for the first time, Cori felt grounded, standing not just in the light of the truth, but in the power of forgiveness, love, and resilience. Weeks passed, but the whirlwind of emotions still echoed inside Cori. Yet something was different now. The confusion had softened into clarity. The pain, though still real, no longer controlled her. And the questions, those persistent, lingering questions, had become a guide, not a burden. Sitting by the window of her apartment, watching the California sun dip below the skyline, Cori reflected on how far she had come. The girl who opened that letter weeks ago was not the same woman sitting here now. Her phone buzzed, a text from her dad. "Meet me at the studio, got something for you." Minutes later, she was walking back into the place where everything had unraveled and somehow come back together. Inside, Snoop stood waiting, a vinyl record spinning low in the background. He smiled the moment he saw her, a smile that was softer, fuller, different from the grin the world usually saw. "Come here, baby girl," he said, pulling her into a hug. They sat together, side by side. No tension now, just understanding. "I've been thinking," Snoop began, his voice measured. "Our story, it ain't just ours anymore. It belongs to anyone who's ever been hurt by the truth, and healed by it too." Cori nodded. "It's bigger than us." Snoop pulled out a small box and handed it to her. Inside was a gold chain with a pendant, shaped like a broken heart, stitched together. "For you," he said softly, a reminder that broken things can be made whole. Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they weren't from pain, they were from gratitude. "Dad, thank you for being brave, for being real." He chuckled. "Took me long enough, huh?" They laughed together, the sound warm, genuine. Then, facing the camera crew Snoop had quietly set up, they sat down for something the world wasn't expecting. A conversation, not about music, not about fame, about family, about truth, about what happens when secrets stay hidden too long, and how facing them can lead to the most powerful healing. The interview spread like wildfire. Clips flooded every corner of social media. People weren't just watching two celebrities talk. They were watching a father and daughter confront generations of pain with raw honesty and unconditional love. Cori's foundation launched the following week, instantly gaining massive support. Messages poured in from people who felt seen, heard, understood, from those wrestling with family secrets of their own, from those looking for hope. And in the midst of it all, the message from the person connected to Denise finally led to a meeting. Over coffee in a small cafe, Cori sat face to face with someone who filled in pieces of her father's past she never knew. They cried, they laughed, they hugged, and when they parted ways, it felt less like saying goodbye and more like closing a chapter with love. Standing outside that cafe, Cori looked up at the sky, the sun warm on her skin. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," she whispered. Her phone buzzed again. Another notification. More messages. More lives being touched. She smiled. Her journey wasn't just about uncovering a hidden truth. It was about what came after. About how truth, even when painful, becomes the foundation for something stronger, something beautiful. And as we close this chapter, remember, secrets may shape us, but they don't define us. What defines us is how we rise from them. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And don't stop here. Click on the video that's on your screen right now for another powerful story that will touch your heart and inspire your soul.